Alright guys, so we are going to be multiplying polynomials. So hopefully this is a bit of a review and you should be able to catch on pretty quick. So I'm not going to go too slow because hopefully we know how to do all of these examples. So have your notes ready and be ready to do the examples along with me. Alright, so let's first talk about what a polynomial is. So we start out with a monomial. Now monomial, mon, usually means one, okay? So monomials are whenever I have one term. So all of these are examples of one-termed monomials, alright? Now whenever I have two terms, I call that a binomial. Three terms, I call that a trinomial. And then any more than that, we just call polynomials. Now anything with at least one or more terms is a polynomial. So monomial, binomial, trinomial, and so forth are all polynomials. Alright, now how do we recognize these? Well, normally they have to have variables and constants. So for here, this polynomial here, 2x minus 3, is a polynomial. All of these are examples of different types of polynomials. Alright, so we're going to be multiplying these things together. Alrighty, so we are going to multiply 2x times x plus 1. Like my pumpkin here in the corner. I carved that last Halloween. Anyways, so I'm going to distribute, okay? So we're all about the distributive property right now. So to distribute, I do 2x times x and then 2x times 1. And I'm going to get 2x squared plus 2x. And that's it. That's all I have to do. So 2x times x plus 1 is 2x squared plus 2x. So remember, when you do an x times an x, that's x squared. Okay? And every time you add another x, you get another exponent. So if you do x squared times x, that would be x cubed. If you do x to the 4th times x squared, that's x to the 6th. Now, no worries, we will also be covering exponent rules, but hopefully you remember this from Algebra 1. Alright, so now I'm going to multiply two binomials together. So binomials, both of these terms have, so this is a binomial because they both have two terms. So multiplying two binomials together, you might use what you've heard before, FOIL. But I don't like to say FOIL, I like to just say you use the distributive property twice. So I call it double distributing. So how we do it is each of the terms in the first parenthesis needs to be multiplied by the terms in the second parenthesis. So x times x times negative 2, 1 times x, 1 times negative 2. So x times x gives me x squared, x times negative 2 gives me negative 2x, 1 times x gives me positive x, and then 1 times negative 2 gives me negative 2. Now I just combine my like terms. So I take a look at my problem. I only have one x squared. These guys need to come together and they're going to give me a negative x. And then I have my negative 2. So this would be my answer. So when you multiply the two binomials together, I get a trinomial. Whoa, alright, so I got lots of stuff going on right now. Okay, so I have just a number on the outside. I have a binomial and then another binomial. Now, this 5, you just do the stuff from left to right. Now, multiplication is commutative, so you could multiply in whatever order you want. But normally what I do is I would distribute the 5 to each term, and then from there I would take my result and then multiply towards the second term. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 5 times this, 5 times this. So that's going to give me negative 15xy. Notice how just the 5 and the negative 3 multiply. Plus 25. Now I still keep that in parentheses because I need to multiply times the 9x minus y. Alright, so now this binomial will multiply times this binomial. Okay, so every term in this binomial need to go to that binomial. So I'm going to do negative 15xy to 9x. Now be careful here because I do have an x times an x. So this is going to give me negative 135 x squared y. And then negative 15y times y. which will give me a positive 15xy squared. Okay, notice that. So y times y gave me y squared. X times x gives me this x squared. Alright, now I'm going to do the next term. So 25 times 9x and 25 times negative y. So 25 times the 9 gives me 225. X minus 25y. Now I need to combine like terms, okay? So the more terms we have, the little stickier this gets. So we gotta look. Take a look. So this guy has x squared y. That's his last name. Does any other term have x squared y? Well, this guy has xy squared. This guy has x. This guy has y. So I don't have anybody that has the same last name. Here, nobody else with the same last name. Here, nobody else. Nobody else. So my final answer is actually this whole thing. Okay? So negative 135 x squared y plus 15 xy squared. Now normally we like to write our answer in descending order of the powers. Now what do I mean? I mean I'm going to do x's first, so x squared, the power is 2, then x to the first, then x to the first again, but this guy had a y, that's why he went first, and then just a plain old y. So here's my final answer. Couldn't combine anything, so that's it. Alright, so now we're going to do x minus 1 quantity squared. Now what this means is anytime you have something squared, like if I had x squared, what that means is x times x. So squaring something is multiplying something times itself. So x minus 1 quantity squared, we're going to rewrite as x minus 1 times x minus 1. Alright, now we double distribute, so x times x gives me x squared. X times negative 1 gives me negative x. Negative 1 times x gives me negative x. Negative 1 times negative 1 gives me positive 1. Combining like terms, I get x squared minus 2x plus 1. And there's my final answer. So just remember, anytime you see something squared, that means you multiply it times itself, okay? Now, this is something that I never, ever, 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 ever want to see you do, okay? So x minus 1 quantity squared does not mean to distribute the squared to each term, okay? So x minus 1 quantity squared is not the same as x squared plus 1. You can't just distribute the squared to the two terms. So do not ever, 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 ever do that. Okay? Don't do that. Big, big, big mistake. Okay? So remember, anytime you're squaring something, that means multiplying it times itself. Alright, so this one is a little bit more to do. So now I have 3 binomials multiplied together. So I have to multiply all 3. Now remember, with multiplication, I can actually do whatever order I want. But in this case, I'm going to go from left to right. Alright, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to multiply these two guys together. So this is just like one of the last problems we did. So I'm going to do x times x. X times 2. Alright, now I'm going to do negative 5 times x, negative 5 times 2. Now, before I move on, I'm going to simplify, but I'm going to go ahead and write the rest of my problem so I don't forget. So simplifying these guys need to come together. So I get x squared minus 3x minus 10 times 2x plus 3. Alright, so now I have a trinomial, so 1, 2, 3 trinomial times a binomial, and I do it just the way I have been doing it. So, x squared times 2x gives me 2x cubed, x squared times 3. Now I'm going to do the next term, negative 3x times 2x, negative 6x squared. Negative 3x times 3, negative 9x. Now I'm going to do the next term. So negative 10 times 2x, negative 20x. Negative 10 times 3, which gives me negative 30. Alrighty, so now I need to combine like terms and then I'm done. So let's take a look. What are my like terms? Well, do I have anybody else who has a cube? No. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite that guy. So he's definitely in my answer. Alright, now do I have anybody who has a x squared? Yes, I do. These two. So these two need to come together and they're going to give me negative 3x squared. So did that guy, did that guy, did that guy. Now the more like terms are these guys and these guys, so combining them I get negative 29x and then my minus 30. And that is it. That is my final answer. Alright, now do these you try problems in your notes.